A botched bank heist, an innocent man falsely accused, and an heir to the Converse fortune found dead. Call it hidden history, wrapped in a murder mystery. And it's all right here at the Malden Public Library and Converse Memorial Galleries.
And it was really the gift of Elijah Converse. He basically was the largest producer of shoes in the world at one point.
Dora St. Martin is the library director.
This was his personal project, and the reason for that is that it was a memorial. Their son, Frank Eugene Converse, was the first American ever to be killed in a bank robbery.
Much more on that shortly, but first we head to the main gallery, which features a large format painting of Abraham Lincoln at Gettysburg, with enough artistic license to make ChatGPT blush.
I like to use the painting to teach teenagers the internet lies, because the painting is really not a historic portrait of Lincoln at Gettysburg, which again was a battlefield and full of dirt. This is a beautiful show of a beautiful table and rugs, and none of that was there.
Most of the people surrounding the president were also not there.
So basically you have Civil War generals who were out fighting, like Grant and Benjamin Butler. Here we have Frederick Douglass. He certainly wasn't invited to the event.
This painting by Malden artist Albion Harris Bicknell is also one of the first to feature Lincoln standing.
During his life, mostly they would sketch him or photograph him sitting down because he was really quite upset about his height. But once he was assassinated, the idea is sort of seeing him in his full height and glory.
A sharp eye can find quite a few other Easter eggs.
Over here, underneath the chair, we have Lincoln's hat.
There is the red glove of martyrdom and even Julius Caesar's laurel wreath.
And it's been torn apart and laid over the rug as another symbol of Lincoln's assassination. It's a wonderful painting for when you're doing school tours because there's so much to look at in the painting.
But now we return to the tragic murder of Frank Converse, heir to the Converse fortune. It was a cold December afternoon in 1863, and Frank, aged 17, was working as a teller at his father's bank.
The teller who was working with him had gone to Boston for a meeting, and so he was all alone in the bank. And then about middle of the afternoon, a person who knew Frank Converse, about the same age, came into the bank and found him bleeding on the floor with 2 gunshot wounds to the head. So somewhere in a mere 20 minutes, someone came in and robbed the bank of $5,000, which was probably about $165,000 in today's money.
It was believed that the thief shot Frank because he was a local and knew Frank could identify him. That would make sense because paper currency at the time was printed and backed by the bank owner, in this case, Elijah Converse.
So if you trusted Converse, you trusted the bank. But you couldn't take that money to Illinois or anywhere where they didn't know the Converse name. So money was very, very local.
The first suspect was George Bailey, the last person to enter the bank.
They actually arrested him and brought him to Boston, but they couldn't connect him to the murder.
The case seemed stuck until an African-American barber, William Shiloh, stepped in with a new set of clues.
William Shiloh's barbershop was kind of famous even before the murder. They would actually write poems about the barbershop and the fact that people out west would come and they couldn't get a girl until they had gotten a good shave at Shiloh and Company.
Besides a great shave, Shiloh apparently also had a great memory. His barbershop sat across from the bank, and he was able to provide a list of everyone who entered the bank on the day of the murder.
And that's how they came up with a larger group of people to look at, including the ultimate murderer. And Ed Green was actually the town's postmaster, and he had gotten, they said, into drink and basically into debt. Bought a gun and went into the bank in that 20-minute period and shot Frank. They said the bloody money was found in a boot in the post office.
The barber, Shiloh, was given a house for his part in solving the crime. And the original suspect, George Bailey, was released to much fanfare.
2,000 people came out to welcome him back to town.
In the end, the town of Malden got this beautiful memorial library and galleries in Frank's memory, where today the only face to have witnessed the crime still hangs inside. It's the original bank clock.
So it truly would have been the only witness to the murder.
One person pictured in the Gettysburg painting who was there, General Oliver Otis Howard, namesake of Howard University. He was a one-armed general who fought at Gettysburg and served as general in charge of the Freedmen's Bureau, charged with finding food, housing, and work for newly emancipated people of color as the Union Army moved south.